everyone, and welcome back to another Dub Juniors podcast with me, Ollie B. And today we will be chatting with Keiran Brown, CEO at Fitzrovia. Fitzrovia Studios are ideal for any audio project, whether it's voiceover work, sound design, ADR, final mixing, or podcast production. They take pride in being a woman-first LGBTQ+ led and inclusive company committed to creating a welcoming and supportive environment for everyone. I was lucky enough to be invited recently, and I must say the studios are awesome. I love the funky vibe, the neon lights, the red French bulldog, and as I told my mum, the fancy Fanta. Thanks for joining me today, Keiran. So firstly, can you tell us a bit about how Fitzrovia started?
Well, firstly, thanks for having me, Ollie. This is exciting. How did Fitzrovia start? Well, it precedes me. It was here a long time before me. 25 years ago, my friends, Rob Butler-Biggs and his wife, they started Fitzrovia. She was the business side and he was a sound engineer, and they grew it and they looked after it, and it became a pedigree in the industry.
Right, yeah.
And at that time, we were in a really small studio in Fitzrovia where they'd been for 25 years. Then they got to a certain age where they didn't want to do it anymore. And they knew I was looking for a new challenge. I'd just exited another business that I was involved in.
Okay, yeah.
And I bought the business, and that was at the beginning of the pandemic. And so we had a lot of problems once I bought the business. The whole country shut down and lots of different things happened and productions closed. But we had a crash landing, and we assembled a different team, and we grew and we continued their legacy. And we are now here in Camden, and our new studios are, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 times what we had before.
Wow.
And we're busy making it lovely and refurbishing everything and welcoming people like you to different top secret productions.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have a great team now, and it's a little bit of a different vibe. Back then, it was very much like it was their thing.
Yeah.
And now it's very much like I take care of the aesthetics and the business side and business relationships. So the crazy artwork that is probably more to do with me than the sound engineers, because they're busy inside the booths. But yeah, it's growing and it's changing and it's exciting.
Yeah, I love it. Your team have worked on some awesome projects, such as Bad Dinosaurs, The Imaginary on Netflix, and 123 Number Squad on Sky Kids. How long does the process take from casting the voices to it being on TV?
So we like to get involved right at the beginning in development. So from development to broadcast, it can be anything 2, 3, 4 years in.
Oh, wow.
So those conversations are happening a long time before it gets to us. Once it goes into animatic stage and they start having some pictures, then we can start recording, and the casting is going on in the background. So it's a very long process. So by the time that it goes out, that's a long time after us as well. So we deliver ours and everything goes, and then the broadcast date could be quite long after. That's on our animation side. We also do commercials and documentaries. So we just did the Al Fayed documentary, and that was very fast. So they've got their documentary picture locked. By the time it comes into us to edit the sound and do the voiceover, it literally goes out the next day.
Really?
So different workflows for different genres.
Yeah, cool. So what's your favourite animation you've worked and why?
My favourite anime? Good question. Well, I don't watch much animation, probably because I'm in my 40s. And since I've been here, I mean, we've done everything from Postman Pat to Fireman Sam to some real big iconic animations
all the time.
Over the years. We did 5 series of The Amazing World of Gumball and some really exciting IP. Since I've been here, I'm most proud, I think, of Bad Dinosaurs, which you mentioned. Bad Dinosaurs is the first IP of a production company called Snappy Pictures, and they're a very, very brilliantly creative team. And they used a Spanish studio to do the animation, and I think A, it looks beautiful, and B, there's no real dialogue. There's just some noises and lots of inappropriate noises. Right. So with animation, 50% of what you experience is the sound. So it often comes into us very mute. What I liked about about dinosaurs is it was in the room, you know, and they were creating there. It was the first series, and it turned out very beautiful and very, very comedic. And I think it was like Netflix #1 show for at least 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And that's quite a competitive space to get into. Other than that show, a couple of years ago, we did a show called Dead End Paranormal Park by a guy called Hamish Steele.
Oh, cool.
And I liked that because, one, there was one episode, I asked the engineers many times, let me see the show, and they often don't let me see the show because probably, I don't know much about that end of it. I know more about business relationship side. But they said, you'll like the musicals episode because I like song and things like that. And I did. I liked it very much. And that show was really important because one of the characters was a trans character. And I think it's really important to have representation in the content we're consuming of all different types of people, whether they're tall or small, or they look different, or they act different. And I like that one of their main characters was a trans character. So it's a privilege to work on that.
Yeah, cool. Do you have any key qualities you look for in your storytellers?
So our engineers, we call them storytellers, because most of the time they're working on content where they have to really bring it alive through the story of sound. Key qualities, I think, if I think about our team, all of them are incredibly talented. So it's a really hard industry to get a spot in. I'm not just looking for like the incredible talent, because we can invest in people and help bring them up through the ranks and make sure they have the best input, and with senior experienced engineers. I look for very, very decent people, kind people, interesting people who can see and think differently. So the biggest key quality I'm looking for is skill and creativity. Second to that is, how do they come across to our clients? Because we're only really as good as our last gig. So I want them to look after people like you. I want them to impact the room when they're in the control room. And I want people to go away from here feeling great about the session they did with us and remembering that engineer. Our talent isn't just our engineers. It's our casting, it's our producers, it's our runners. And there's a concordia that runs through it, a thread that runs through it all, is that they're all thoroughly decent people.
Yeah, that's really nice. What advice can you give to talent looking to get into the industry?
So advice, talent looking to get in, I think it's very competitive, and I get emails every day. I'm sure everyone in my position does, and it's hard having to tell them you don't have a spot or things like that. But I think to get into the industry, the advice I would give to anyone is keep knocking on doors. I think I take notice when I've heard from the same person 10 times and suddenly I remember their name, I remember where they're going.
Yeah.
I think talent trying to get into the industry shouldn't be just about who you know and how they can get you into the room, like if you know someone that works in the industry, but sort of like those other people that don't have that kind of privilege. I think, if they're in my inbox, I'm probably going to pay a lot of attention to those people at all. Because I remember when I was 15 and I was trying to get into a job and people gave me opportunities. So I think my advice is keep knocking on doors and don't take for granted when you do get an opportunity. Work really hard, stick out from the crowd. And sticking out from the crowd isn't just being the most talented, it's being the most helpful, it's being the nicest, decent, forward-thinking, hard-working.
That's some really good advice. So I've got one last question that I've been dying to know the answer to. What exactly would Beyonce do?
So what would Beyonce do? So the context of that is, in our reception, there's a massive picture which says, what would Beyonce do? And when we bought that picture, we thought it was this big, about, 10 inches tall and 3 inches wide. And it arrived and it was 7 foot tall. And so we gave it a home. So it was a happy accident. What would Beyonce do? I think it's something that you asked yourself about. You're in a difficult situation. What would I do? It's really about what would you do? And for us, it's always about, we can get through this. We can do this. Be great. You're only as good as your last gig, and keep showing up.
Cool. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me, Ollie.
Enjoyed talking to you.
It was fun.
Yeah.